Okay. So as far as contributions go, um, obviously there are so many inventions that even like inventions and first time historical occurrences. So history doesn't always talk about that. Are there any that you guys can think of on the top of your head?
Garrett Morgan made like more inventions than like anyone in history. Let me even look. Let me try to list all of this. Okay, so Garrett Morgan, some of the inventions that come off the top of my head, the gas mask, the traffic light, they were all made by Garrett Morgan. So
when you talk about, you also have, and I feel so bad I'm drawing a blank her name right now, but the mother of hair care.
Madam C.J. Walker.
Yeah, Madam C.J.
And
Walker. Thank you.
if I'm correct, she was the first African American female millionaire.
Yes, very true.
Mm-hmm. And then if you want to talk about not just like physical inventions like that, but you can talk about entertainment inventions with the rise of jazz music, hip hop music,
Even rock and roll.
exactly, R&B. I'm drawing a blank on some inventors that were mentioned, but there's a Breakfast Club interview with Dick Gregory, and Dick Gregory, don't know the part within the interview, but he does rattle off some.
Oh yeah.
Some
Also,
black
bringing up
inventors
Dick
also.
Gregory, President Obama isn't the first black person to run for office.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dick Gregory did it. Jesse Jackson did it.
Oh yeah, Jesse Jackson did.
Al Sharpton did it a couple times, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, Sharpton never got close, but Jesse Jackson actually won some primaries.
Yeah. Jesse Jackson fell like 100,000 delegates short or something like that.
Yeah. So Garrett Morgan, basically, his main inventions. He invented a lot of stuff. His main inventions were, of course, the traffic signal, the gas mask, safety hood, and also he also made a comb for straightening hair in 1910. So Garrett Morgan made a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And we can talk about
George Washington Carver too.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
George Washington Carver with like his innovations with the peanut. Let's look at other ones.
And what name were you?
I was just gonna say we can go back to some of the political policy that we mentioned earlier with the Black Panther Party. So I mean, if you want to attribute that to like Huey P. Newton, Bobby Seale, Fred Hampton, those guys. Shaka Khan, since she was a part of the movement too, you definitely want to throw your black sisters in there also, from that influence.
Yeah, Benjamin Banneker making the almanac. There's just so many names I can think of. You think of like innovations. Rock music was made basically by I believe Robert Johnson. I believe Robert Johnson. He's the one who made rock music. He was black. Then hip hop, rap, of course, that came from like the 5%er movement, and so 5%ers for the creation of hip hop, rap, R&B. Basically, every popular music form out today had its roots with black people. Like look at soul, funk,
Gospel.
yeah.
If you want to tie that in with like spirituals and that kind of thing, and that religious aspect there.
Yeah, and from that, let's talk about another art form, film. Obviously, Ryan Coogler is doing a lot, and with the new Nat Turner movie coming out, it's Nate Parker.
Yeah,
Nate Parker. What do you guys feel about that, or what do you know?
In terms of the movie representation of Nat Turner, I'm just finally happy that we're gonna get a different view on sort of that demographic and that experience, that blacks experience in slavery. Typically, you get, or you're given the movies where, you're sort of whipped and bound and sort of castrated in that sense. And I mean, with Roots, you get
Alex
to sort
Haley.
of, thank you,
No problem.
Alex Haley. Alex Haley did with Roots. You get to see the development of a black family and sort of that transition through into the autobiographical and biographical aspect of that. But the Nat Turner movie is definitely going to allow you to see that there were these strong leaders, there were these strong fighters, there were these people that refused to bend and give in to the oppression and give in to to the death and the hatred that was sort of surrounding them. There were people that wanted to stand their ground and fight back against it. There wasn't just the individuals like Harriet Tubman that came and, you know, rescue people in terms of like the Underground Railroad. Those are people who wanted to sort of stand right then and there and fight back in the physical sense like that.
And since you mentioned Harriet Tubman, what's your view on the $20 bill?
I like the fact that she's on it. I guess like a lot of people are still offended that Andrew Jackson is going to be on the back because of the Trail of Tears and Native Americans. But the fact that there's going to be a black person on United States currency, or rather a person of color on major United States currency, because of course they gave Sacagawea
the
dollar coin,
yeah.
you know, which was good for Native Americans, but it was a limited edition. This $20 bill is going to be everywhere. That's good. That's really good. So I really like the fact that Harriet Tubman is going to be on the $20 bill. It's well deserved. On the $5 bill, I believe Lincoln's still going to be on the front, and on the back it's going to be Martin Luther King Jr., Marian Anderson, and Eleanor Roosevelt.
Oh.
On the $10 bill, it's still going to have Alexander Hamilton. And on the back of the $10 bill, it's going to have Susan B. Anthony, Sojourner Truth, Loretta Mott, and I think Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Alice Paul. And then the $20 bill, the new face is going to be Harriet Tubman, and then Andrew Jackson's going to be on the back. So you look at the $5 bill of MLK and Marian Anderson, that's like a big deal. And then with Sojourner Truth on the 10, and then of course Harriet Tubman on the 20. I mean, that's real good. That's great right there. Like, that's representation. That's really dope actually.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of crazy that MLK is going to be on currency, but because of the news of Harriet Tubman being on the 20, that kind of got overshadowed. But you now have, that's 4 well-known black people that's going to be on currency, with MLK and Marian Anderson on the 5, Sojourner Truth on the 10, and Harriet Tubman on the 20. So we're going to start calling them dubs, them tubs, so that's going to be dope.
And the milks. The $5 milks.
$5 milks.
MLK.
Yeah, MLK milk.
True.
And I mean that I think it's also gonna have a big impact in terms of future generations, because I don't know about you guys, but when I saw those founding fathers or past presidents or political figures on U.S. currency in general, I'm trying to figure out who they were, so I would get to Googling, researching and that kind of thing. So hopefully in the future it has that same impact when you see these new faces on the back of currency. You're trying to figure out who they are and what are they known for, why would they put that. So you get to delve a little bit deep and go back and, learn some history about this, learn some history about that. Sort of further yourself in that regard.
And back to the Nat Turner movie, Birth of a Nation. Interesting history is that the title Birth of a Nation was actually from a white supremacy film. So taking that same power and putting it to something positive, in my opinion, is brilliant.
Yeah, Birth of a Nation is that film about the KKK, but it was a silent film for the KKK, and it actually helped revitalize the Ku Klux Klan after the Klan was formed slowly after the ending of the Civil War. Like during the 1920s, there was a huge resurgence in the Ku Klux Klan. So, Birth of a Nation came out in 1915. So the fact that they chose that for the Nat Turner movie is pretty beautiful.
Yeah. And actually a lot of, especially youth, black people that didn't know about it or didn't know the history of like different revolts and things like that, like Amistad and things like that. They're like, oh, if I was in this situation, I would have done this. If I was, in this situation, I would have fought back. But it's hard to actually put yourself in that situation when you've never had that same, environment actually around you. And it's good that, we're actually getting to see the largest event that happened in this scenario. So really looking forward to it. And a lot of people, even today, still say with the whole radical idea, they're like, oh, he was radical because, he killed and things like that, which was controversial. But at the same time, again, going back to, the U.S. leaving Britain, it's the same principle.
It's
Like,
a war.
yeah, basically for freedom, for your rights, and things like that. So it's good that we do have that empowerment with money. Definitely this type of film.
Just more black representation in film in general. That's why, and I know this something kind of near and dear to you. That's why the whole Black Panther movie that's gonna come out also.
Yeah, I'm super excited because actually Black Panther, the character in Marvel, was pretty much the first comic book character that wasn't either a sidekick or a degrading villain. Of course, he was the king. They've never been conquered, which you can compare to Haiti. So if you want to talk about that.
Oh man, when you talk about what Haiti means to blacks in the Western Hemisphere, and you talk about what the Haitian Revolution did to slaves, you guys got to understand that the U.S. actually outlawed all interaction with Haiti once they gained their independence. Like Haiti was the first country that was founded by black slaves once they got their freedom from the French. Like the Haitians actually fought back against the French, won their independence, and then the U.S. punished them for getting their independence by having sanctions placed against them in terms of trade. They wouldn't allow Haitians to come into the country because they viewed them as the term that they love to toss around now. Haitians were kind of viewed as like terrorists in the sense that they were seen as entities that could come to the U.S. and act terror by enticing black slaves in the South to revolt against their masters. So when you talk about Haitian history, it's a rich history in terms of their appeal to blacks and in terms of the stance that they took against the whole idea of slavery.
Very well said. I would say the last topic that I want to talk about for this general collection is the whole idea of black intra-segregation. A lot of us, for example, during the Jesse Williams speech, they said, "Oh, he doesn't understand, dark skin struggles because he's light skinned." And the same thing with Chris Rock's movie Good Hair and things like that. And a lot of people separate basically one side of ourselves from another. And also that goes, hand in hand with the whole like foreign black people seeing African Americans in a different light than how African Americans see themselves and even see foreign black people. Victor, would you like to talk about that?
Oh yeah, I feel like there's a lot of. That's one reason why there's problems now within our community. Is the fact that a house divided cannot stand. So essentially, you have people that come in from Africa and the Caribbean that may come to America, and they don't view themselves as Black Americans. They view themselves as their Caribbean or African countries. Their African countries. Name. So you have people come from Nigeria. They'll be like, "Oh, we're Nigerian. We're not Americans." Other people from Jamaica like, "Oh, we're Jamaican. We're not from America." But what black people need to understand everywhere is that black people everywhere, we share the same issues. We share the same problems with poverty. We share the same issues everywhere across the world when it comes to broken families. We have so many of the same issues everywhere. The only thing that's different, honestly, are our accents. If we really want to get down to it, a black man in Europe or a black man in Brazil, for example, is going through many of the things that a black man in America is going through, So we are all bound by the skin. We're all bound by this, universal struggle that we have. So dividing ourselves isn't necessarily the best thing to do. It's just, if anything, that's what, those in power who want to keep black people down, that's what they would want us to do. They would want us to
destroy ourselves.
Yeah.
Separate ourselves.
Exactly. That's exactly what they would want. It's kind of like with colorism in the African American community, like what they were saying with Jesse Williams, he can't understand because he's light skinned. No matter what, if you're light skinned, you're brown skinned, you're caramel, you're dark as a shadow, you're a red bone, they look at you as black. it doesn't matter in their eyes. Like you're still gonna be viewed as black, and they're gonna treat you as such. Like
The same laws that
Same
would have
laws.
applied back in the 60s.
and
Pretty
there's
much.
and there's even a reason for that. Once again, back during slave times, of course there would be white slave masters that would have sex with like black women, and of course form interracial babies. So when that happened, they actually started passing laws in this country, and one reason why like mixed people are viewed as black is because that's what the law was back then. Like they made laws saying like, let's say a black person has sex with a Native American, or a white person has sex with a black person, that person's still gonna be viewed as black. There are actual laws. There were actual laws enacted back in those days that said no matter if you have this percentage of black in you, or you're 100% black, you're gonna be viewed black by the law.
Correct. Even, for example, the movie Free State of Jones,
Mhm.
a descendant of the main character basically was termed to be 1/8 black.
Mm-hmm.
Now he could identify, physically as I
White
guess you
man.
could say, yeah, phenotypically as a white male, but because he was 1/8 black, and they pulled back, the birth certificates and the Bibles and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
to go off of that, he was determined to be black, and could not marry his wife.
Exactly. They had laws that black men couldn't marry like a white woman, and then, but it was completely okay for like white men to like rape black women and have babies with them, like it was nothing. And then you even go even further into that, like implications when like slavery ended with like the grandfather clause. Grandfather clause basically said if your grandfather didn't have the right to vote, you don't have the right to vote. So all the people that left, the plantations as slaves after the Civil War start trying to get voter rights. The grandfather clause is passed throughout the South. Grandfather clause says your grandfather couldn't vote, you can't vote. All these people that were descendants of slaves, well, our grandparents were slaves, they couldn't vote, so that means we can't vote. And of course, that was meant to continue on for eternity, because of course, like their future children, their future children would be like, oh, our grandfather couldn't vote even though he was free, which means we still can't vote. And of course, their children wouldn't be able to vote because their it was supposed to continue. It was basically a way to continue the enslavement of African Americans. And that's a major reason why even after the Civil War, many blacks had to go back to working on plantations even after the Civil War, still picking cotton.
I just want to point out too that in the absentee black father narrative, I just want to point out that recent studies have shown that that's false. By the way, that black fathers are involved in their children's lives equally, if not more, than white counterparts, Hispanic counterparts, Latino counterparts. It's just another way of sort of perpetuating the idea that you can't amount to anything, or just furthering these negative stereotypes about the black community by saying things like black fathers aren't in any of our lives. I know when you talk about the people in this room, all of us have our fathers in our lives. All of us grew up with our fathers. So you have that in this room at least, is you're batting at 100%. But statistically, I can't remember the statistics right now. I can email you the articles, but it has been proven to be false.
Same thing with welfare too.
I'm sorry, welfare. Same thing with welfare. The whole creation of the black welfare queen, and looking to degrade the black woman as being the sole sort of person that looks to get government assistance and things like that, goes back to what you were talking about before, with individuals who don't support President Obama and the things that he does for the little guy. It's that same sort of idea there also.
So back to what Victor was saying, is that no matter what country you're from, if you come to America, then you are reaping the benefits of people that have died, been beaten, and have sacrificed so much for you to be where you are.
Exactly.
So to deny any relation to African American history is an abomination.
It really is.
So with that said, hope that anyone learns more about African American history. If you didn't know anything before this, then I hope you do. And hopefully this gave you new perspective and new insight to either spread the information or take action.